I've wanted to build a proper coffee table for years, but one thing always stopped me. I had no good way to flatten larger glued-up panels. My jointer and planer are fine, as long as the material actually fits on them. The moment I glue up anything wider, they're basically useless. I do have a CNC, but it's only 2 by 4 feet, and setting it up for flattening feels like launching a space mission. So I started looking at options. Some people take their slabs to a milling shop, but I couldn't find anyone nearby who'd do it for a reasonable price. And even if I could, I'd need a truck just to get the slab there, and I don't have a truck. Then I checked out the ready-made flattening systems, and most start around $1,000, which is a great price if you also enjoy skipping mortgage payments. So eventually I just thought, you know what, forget it. I'll build my own sled. I ordered a set of rails and bearings off Amazon, put together a simple setup, and in this video, I'll show you how I built it and how well it actually works. Because honestly, this one tool instantly unlocked projects I've been avoiding for way too long. I started by cutting two 2.5-inch strips from the acrylic sheet I picked up on Amazon. By the way, every part I use for this build is linked in the description, in case you want to make one too. I'll use those 2 smaller pieces as side plates to lock the cross rails onto the main rails, and the larger panel will become the base for the router. At first, I planned to mount that large acrylic sheet on top of the cross rail brackets, but then I realized it made more sense to tuck it underneath, keeping the router lower and closer to the workbench. But then I noticed those small plates were starting to bow under the router's weight, so I shifted the crossrail brackets farther apart to spread the load and keep everything rigid. To keep things accurate, I cut a plywood template the exact size of the side plates. I drilled all the mounting holes in the plywood first, tested the fit, and then used that template as a guide to drill the acrylic perfectly. I'm using a 1/4 inch drill bit for the mounting holes. That size makes a perfect fit for the bolts I'm using. And whenever you're drilling plywood, always put a scrap piece underneath. It keeps the backside clean and prevents those nasty blowouts. Once I had the holes for attaching the cross rails finished, it was time to drill the matching holes that connect the cross rails to the main rail brackets. This part took a while because I wanted everything as square as possible. The holes have to line up perfectly and stay parallel, so I took my time getting the layout right. When the plywood template was finished and everything fit the way it should, I used it to drill the matching holes in the two side plates. Since these plates will be screwed to both the cross rails and the main rail brackets at the same points, I needed to sink the bolt heads a little deeper. So I grabbed a 3/4 inch Forstner bit and drilled a shallow recess, about 3 millimeters, just enough to hide the heads and keep everything flush. A quick recommendation, don't try to do this freehand. Without a drill press or some kind of guide, that Forstner bit will wander all over the place. I used a simple plywood guide I'd made earlier, clamped it to the side plates, and drilled through that. It kept the bit steady, and the recesses clean and accurate. You know, sometimes I think woodworking is the adult version of playing with Lego. You start with a pile of parts, a rough idea, and the confidence that you'll figure it out somehow. Then halfway through, you're surrounded by offcuts, missing clamps, and a tool you don't even remember buying. But somewhere in that chaos, the project starts to make sense. Not because everything went perfectly, far from it, but because the mess slowly turns into something real. And honestly, that transformation is the best part. Next, it was time to work on the main acrylic plate, the base for the router. I started by finding the exact center, just by drawing cross lines corner to corner. After that, I needed 3 holes to mount the router, and 16 more to attach the plate to the 4 crossrail brackets. It took a little imagination to figure out how to lay everything out perfectly square. In the end, I kept it simple. I squared up the rails, clamped the acrylic plate directly to the brackets, marked the hole locations with a drill bit, and then drilled everything exactly where it needed to be. Right in that center, I drilled the opening for the router bit. When all the holes were done, I attached the router base to the plate and squared up the whole setup so everything sat straight and aligned. For flattening, I'm using a Wood slab flattening bit, 1/2-inch shank, 2.5-inch cutting diameter. It's a good match for my router and should take nice wide passes across the surface. All right, time to test it. I started with a sparked pine panel just to be safe. And honestly, the sled ran through it like butter. Almost no resistance at all. Whew, that was a very good sign. By the way, this setup throws a lot of chips and dust. So if I ever start making tabletops more than once or twice a year, I'll probably need to figure out some kind of vacuum attachment, because this thing can cover a shop faster than I can sweep it. So far, I'm really happy with the results. I even tried it on a log slice slab, and it handled that just as well. Honestly, I don't know why I waited this long to build this. It's already making my life easier. And now that I finally have a way to flatten panels properly, I can start building the coffee table for our living room. So if you want to see how that turns out, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it.